Good day, everyone. This is Group 1, and here's our voiceover PPT of manuscript that talks about historical revisionism. Step number 1, analysis of the situation or research background. We have been exposed by the social media ever since it was developed. Fake news has been spreading, especially about the issue in politics. Now, the continues that the people from the other side thinks that the history should not be revised nor changed or renewed. On the other hand, people thinks it can be. It rains when BBM won the election, some other people trying to brainwash the supporters, or every Filipino citizen saying that the history of the Philippines in Marcoses and Marcelo are corrupt and human abusers. But up until now, there are no proofs that why scholars and researchers provides that the information of history as being subjective.
In our generation, media attempts to mislead the public by fake news in that history cannot be changed because it is allegedly full of lies. History can be and must be and should be rewritten. So history involves and changing, subjective, conceivable, and relative. Historical revision is a huge issue that our country is thinking about after the 2022 election because of the landslide, of course, of the voting of President Marcos Jr. against the former Vice President Leni Robredo. Historians like Rigoberto Tiglao, Jemmy Gatdula, and Van Ivernas stated their reasons for why history needs to be revised. So of course, one of that is that history is a science that attempts of the most reasonable interpretation of what happened, and it can only be disproved or falsified but never proven as true. Like an actress, Ella Cruz, likened history to the slang word chismis, which made noise and triggered people to react. On the other hand, Tiglao says that the anti-Marcos introduced themselves as scholars which expertise in the field. These are filtered by the six shifts such as theory, standpoint, motive, inference, selected evidence, and available evidence. So the great mind theory, the human nature theory, and the great people theory are the three most important historical theories that are subject to change. First, the great mind theory states that some idea force like reason, pure mind, some ideal force or the rationalist is the motive principle of history that drives and draws it ahead and forward. While the human nature theory demonstrating the invariant human constitution and character traits, exemplifying and reflecting the course of history, and subsequently molding and remolding social structures. On the other hand, the great people theory stated that some aristocratic elite favored nation or best race alone makes history in the process asserting position were lower, marginalized, and other privileged class, nations, and races. There are no strong arguments that supported the issues against the Marcoses. Their wealth, that's said to be from the Italiano family, is still unknown and no record of anything. However, Marcos is known to be one of the richest man in the whole world. At the same time, the Philippines was also known as the one of the richest country. So not until he approved martial law wherein many of his flaws in leadership arises. It is a progressive law and the opposition tries to break the good governance of Marcoses by spreading fake news about history. The Yellow Movement made a move to remove him from his position because of it. On the other hand, the martial law helps in restoring peace to dramatically reduce crime rates and protect social welfare of the country. So according to Foucault and Father Ranhilio, history is changing and contingent without a particular direction. It includes facts but not entirely true. The information could hold true, but we always used to question and cross-examine it again and again to take a direct context. So the purpose of historical revisionism is to uncover the truth in a past events to compel historical panoramas and is enrich our understanding of the events that have influenced our course of reality. So we also need adjustments. Adjustment requires in revising the history, but it doesn't mean that we will change it entirely. Rather, adjust it to make it right. Therefore, history can be revised, like the Well of the Marcoses, in the real story behind martial law. History must be and should be revised.
Step number 2, the audience. The main audience of a said topic is the media, which information are scattered and can be seen, together with the education, who happen to be the first unit or verified and truthful information provider. The government as well, since we are talking about the martial law and Marcoses, our current president, and how it works. While in the internal audience is important as finance as well, since it has something to do with the said issue of ill-gotten wealth that has no proofs up to this time. Step number 3, goals or objective. The main goal of this documentation is to list down all the factors to prove audiences how can be true that the history is interchanging, and so their impression and interpretation about Marcoses and martial law. Step number 4, the message. History should be revised because it is subjective. The main focus of the message is to change the bad interpretation of people about history, martial law, and Marcoses. They were rich and future-oriented since then, so there's no need to say that they are as bad as corrupt and abusers politicians. And many of the researchers says that the history is interchanging and it can be revised. So after knowing the analysis of the situation or the backgrounder, we may conclude that the theories, critical definitions, and sieves can say that the history is subjective or dynamic, so that the history should and can be revised. Revisionism shouldn't be an issue or a problem because history ought to be clarified and updated occasionally. To highly support the focus statement or the message about historical revisionism, these two examples will offer you the information and the evidence you need to draw the best possible decision about the need for historical revisions. You can learn the truth about the history. The first movie is all about the negative aspects of the Marcoses and martial law, but this is only because they have depictive victims or point of view of the acting like victims in order to demonstrate the fighting against the government is right. As you can see, there is a black propaganda, while the other movie tells us about the civilization and good government that was demonstrated during the Marcos regime, whether we choose to see the brighter side or not. In addition to the fact that the history is a matter of opinion, revisions are necessary to protect people's perspectives from false information that is harmful and narrow-minded. History constantly evolving, especially when it has been distorted by a period of time that only cares about activism or negative propaganda.
For step 5, medium of our manuscript, interviews and informative videos are collected and conducted as our references. Social media is the best tool for the faster spreading of information. So for digital media, we will use YouTube to upload informative videos so that the audience will easily understand the history. While digital social media, we will have Facebook to conduct seminars or webinars on the subject of historical revision prior to today's era. On the other hand, for mainstream media, we will use TikTok, which has a broader audience today. We will use it for short videos or content creation with a maximum of 3 minutes to achieve our goals and objectives. Step 6, materials. For digital media, we will have posters and signages for graphics and photos with connection with martial law and Marcos Wealth. And for digital social media, we will have WordPress. And for detailed posting, we will publish information links for videos. And mainstream media, we will have an advertisement in WordPress to make them more curious and review the post. We will also share it using Facebook to enlighten them about history. And our action plan in historical revision, the researcher must know every detail of the topic. The possible learning might take us 1 to 2 months to ensure that the details are revised and complete. The staff must look for field experts like historians to help with the detail of historical revision during martial law, including Marcus Wealth. And the budget depends on the efforts applied and the cost of materials, including the expenses for location and project materials. For the last step, evaluation, everyone understood and the plan was going well for the audience. Learning and takeaways through character, aspects, and beliefs of the subject are achieved. Thus, history must rely on facts, more and deeper background information about the situation during Marcos era, and the key reasons that martial law should impose are to restore peace, dramatically reduce crime rates, and protect social welfare. So here we listed some possible questions that we might ask our target audience. These are the following. Remember what Michael Crichton said? If you don't know history, then you don't know anything. You are a leaf that doesn't know it is part of a tree.